Good morning. I'm Cecilia Dodge, she, her, and I'm a member of our board of directors. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a community of youth, adults, and children of many diverse theologies, held together by covenant, not creed. Together, we share the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. May you know deep welcome and belonging in this place. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the Zoom chat box or place it in the bowl in the Soulwork Center before the first hymn. Welcome visitors. We're so glad you're here. If you're visiting with children, we do offer spiritual growth opportunities for children and youth at this 11 o'clock service. And at both services, we offer nursery care. As always, your children are also welcome to stay with you during the service. We welcome the noises, movement, and joy that little ones bring. Let's take a moment and wave to those who are online as well. Welcome, Zoomers. And now a brief word from Reverend Jack.
It's my privilege and honor today to welcome Jill Schwendeman into our pulpit as our guest preacher. I've known Jill for quite a few years, and I've liked being the Jack to her Jill. She is a member here at our church, and she also is on staff here for 16 years, I learned this morning. She currently works in palliative care and hospice and serves as chaplain at Lakeview Hospital in Stillwater. She's also one of our 3 affiliated ministers here at White Bear, who willingly weave their ministry with ours in covenantal ways. It's such a joy to have affiliated ministers who can occasionally come and preach a good word among us, along with the other ways that they minister to us and to our communities. So please join me in welcoming Jill Schwendeman.
Welcome to our church. Together, we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
I'm the Reverend Jill Schwendeman. Pronouns are she, her. Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place.
Good morning. My name is Ali Youssef, and my pronouns are he, him. In the midst of all the uncertainty and chaos around us, it's easy to zone out and just go through the motions of life. My parents were in the direct line of fire in Lebanon for months, and the feeling of helplessness was gut-wrenching. So I found myself gravitating routinely to that autopilot mode. A few weeks ago, I was faced with an ultimatum from one of our children, an 11-year-old, to have a baby, move into a new home, or get a puppy. You have to understand, we already have 2 cats, and I managed to navigate around getting a hamster. Despite all the promises of emptying the litter box, guess who ends up doing it? Or constantly bringing it up until they can no longer tolerate my voice, and they do it to get a break from me. I finally caved a few weeks ago, and we went to pick out a puppy. We named him Queso, like the cheese. It seemed like the easier option compared to having a baby or moving. What began as a reluctant decision to expand our family has become a master class in mindfulness and joy. If you've had a puppy, you know that the potty training process is brutal. You have to take them out every hour for the first few days and are in constant terror of accidents. In the rhythms of our days, the familiar click of a leash, the patter of eager paws on icy tundra, I discovered new dimensions of love and presence. Each day now holds countless small revelations. My joy that he managed to hold it through the night, the way the early sun reflects on his fur during our walks, the gentle reminder to pause and notice the world around me when tiny paws suddenly stop to investigate a fallen leaf, the way time seems to suspend itself in moments of pure connection when cuddling or playing together. These shifts in routine have opened my heart in ways I never expected. Where once I hurried through the morning routine, I now find myself present to new discoveries through fresh eyes. My heart has grown not just in its capacity to love this new being, but in its ability to recognize the importance in the simple moments we share. Like a puppy learning to trust and love, we too are learning and growing each day. May this chalice flame remind us that even in the most routine moments of our lives, there are opportunities for our hearts to expand and for clarity to emerge from the ordinary. May we remain open to these daily revelations that connect us more deeply to ourselves and to each other. Please join me in the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn 1031.
And now it's time for our story. So any children or youth present who want to come closer to hear the story, feel free to do that now. Or maybe those who are just young at heart and want a closer perspective. This morning's story is based on a true story shared many years ago by a UU minister from Michigan. It's about a story about a family, a parent and a child named Sam, and a really bad day. But this story isn't just about Sam and their mom, it's also a story about how we live our UU faith each and every day, and about how we continue to weave the story of our faith in all that we do. The day hadn't started out too badly for Sam. Sam had gotten out of bed and prepared for school just like any other day. It started with a stretch, brushing teeth, right? Getting dressed in a favorite cozy outfit. Sam packed a lunch, ate breakfast, and kissed their mom goodbye before heading out the door to school. But once Sam got to school, things started to go wrong. First, it was one small thing, and then another, and then another. Anyone have days like this? Yeah, some people. Until pretty soon, Sam felt sad and angry, and as sometimes happens when you are feeling overwhelmed, Sam found that they were making choices that were not helping the day get any better. In fact, some of these choices got Sam into trouble. Has anyone ever gotten in trouble before? None of you up here have gotten into trouble before? Okay, you have, okay. By the end of the day, Sam didn't feel any less sad or angry or overwhelmed, especially not when the teacher handed Sam a letter to take home to give to mom. Sam fought back tears as they took the letter and shoved it into their backpack, crumpling it up, hoping that nobody else saw what had happened. And on the short walk home from school, Sam's mind started racing. What am I going to tell my mom? What was mom going to say? Was she going to be angry, disappointed? I wish this day had never happened, thought Sam. This day just felt awful. Sam arrived at the doorstep and slowly walked into the house and plopped down at the kitchen table where Sam was greeted by their mom. How was your day? Sam's mom asked. Fine, said Sam softly. Just fine? Did anything interesting happen today? No, nothing, shouted Sam. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Does this sound familiar to anybody else? Okay, yeah. Sam's mom put a hand on Sam's shoulder. What happened? Is everything okay? Sam didn't say a word. Sam's mom took a deep breath and asked Sam for their backpack. She reached in and found the crumpled up letter. Sam looked down at the table, not wanting to see Mom's face as she read the note. Sam was angry and embarrassed and felt like crying. Sam, said their mom gently, I can see you're pretty upset right now. Do you need a few minutes before we talk about this? Sam nodded. That's okay. I think I might need a few minutes too. Why don't we each take a few minutes before we chat? Let's meet back here at the table when we're both ready. They both agreed that this was a good idea. So Sam took a deep breath, nodded their head. I love you, said Sam's mom. I'll be right here. As Sam walked up the stairs to their bedroom, they noticed that pit in their stomach had already started to go away. And after a while, Sam felt ready to talk about it. When Sam came back into the kitchen, Mom was already sitting at the table with 2 teacups. What are those for? Asked Sam. Well, said Sam's mom, I find that sometimes when I've had a hard day or when I've learned a hard lesson, it helps me to have a hot cup of tea. It helps me find my calm center when things around me don't feel so calm. I thought you might try to like a cup of tea too. Sam nodded their head. Sam liked the idea of sharing a cup of tea with Mom. Then Sam had an idea. I'll be right back. A moment later, Sam arrived back at the table with something in their hand. What is this? Asked Sam's mom. Well, it's my chalice. When I light it, it helps me remember to be loving and kind and to listen and to learn. It reminds me of love. Mom smiled and said, that's a great idea. I think I need that reminder too. Would you like to say any special words before we light the chalice? Sam thought about it a little, then said the words that they remembered learning in church. We light this chalice to remind ourselves to be loving and kind, to listen and learn, to grow and serve. Sam and their mom agreed that from then on they would light a chalice and share a cup of tea anytime they needed help, learning a hard new lesson, or if they needed to have a hard conversation. How does that sound to you all? Like a good plan? Like helpful maybe? All right. That's your story today. Why don't we rise and embody your spirit and sing Go Lift It Up as our children and youth leave for their religious education classes. Please join me for a moment of prayer and meditation. Gathered as we are together, about 120 people in this room and 22 households on Zoom. Spirit of life, love, spirit of mystery and wonder, we gather together on this beautiful day, noticing the cycles of life and seasons turning all around us. We feel within ourselves the longing for the next chapter. We see patches of grass peeking through the snow and are reminded that even in winter, life occurs, growth occurs. And that growth isn't always visible. Sometimes it's internal, below the surface, subterranean. We know that the flower is more than just its bloom. It needs roots, it needs a stem, it needs sunshine and water, and it needs the bees to do their work of cross-pollinating. And just like those flowers, we need roots, holding us close, connecting us to the earth and to our depth. We need the stem, the spine, the strength to stand tall, to hold fast against the winds of injustice. We need the warmth of community, acting as sunshine, and the love of a few cherished people, quenching our thirst for connection. And we need the movement and the buzzing of activity and activism. We need people to advocate for us, and we need to advocate for others. We need to be inspired and moved to act when we notice the pulling of our interdependent web. What affects one of us affects all of us. And when we know that deeply, we can grow the courage to act accordingly. Sometimes the weight of the world feels too heavy to bear, and in those times, may we figure out how to bear it together. In this time when nurture and care are needed, may we honor the concentric circles of need, sending care and loving kindness first to ourselves, then to our inner circle, to our community, to our cities, to our state, to our nation, and then broadening to include our whole planet and all the creatures inhabiting it. May we pulse with nurture and care for this whole global web. This morning, this community holds in light and in love John Weiss and his wife, Sue Dahlman, as John continues his cell transplant treatments for lymphoma down in Rochester. Prayers for continued strength and healing. Sue Stewart and Scott Lench celebrate her son, Ryan Lench, who is having his Eagle Scout Court of Honor right here at WBUUC this afternoon. Folks may remember Ryan from his RE days at the church, and we are happy to be able to celebrate his accomplishment right here in our space. Pat Young, an early member of WBUUC, asks for prayers as she faces surgery on March 3rd for recurring cancer. We also have requests here. Love and prayers for Laura Bathke, partner of Vicky O.H., who faces aggressive blood cancer. Please pray for people who are trans and incarcerated in federal prisons as they are about to be forced to move to prisons by the sex assigned at birth. And noticing here that life is so precarious and precious. And also prayers for the aunt of Rachel Battles, Shauna, who got a cancer diagnosis last week. And now we make space to lift up in prayer those people who are on our hearts and in our minds right now. Those who need a little care, a little recovery, a little healing, tenderness, forgiveness. Out of this stillness and into it, we speak their names out loud. Doing this together is better than doing this alone. May it be so, and make it so. And the people say, amen. Please remain seated for We Would Be One, number 318.
If you're new to the church and would like to learn more, please join us for a 12-minute intro tour after the service. You can find the tour guide next to the fabric wall. After the service today, you're invited to join in the final February conversation circle in the social hall to connect with members of our community. Thank you to all who have joined the circles last week. We had rousing conversations, and we hope to have a similar turnout today. Please join us this Wednesday for our supper and soul work programming. The dinner will be Middle Eastern eats, and there will be choir rehearsal, art and soul, and we're kicking off our OWL program for 4th through 6th graders. If you have any questions, please find Matt Thielen. And now we have a special announcement from our endowment committee.
I'm Kathy McComber. I use she, her pronouns. I invite you to imagine the rest of the committee lined up behind me. Dana Boyle, Steve Kahn, Ron Mader, and Jack Van Steeg. You may remember that $250,000 was anonymously offered by a longtime member. $200,000 if matched by cash or stock donations by the end of February, and a bonus of $50,000 if 25 households submitted letters of intent for a future gift. Please know that all gifts of all sizes, any amount, were and are most welcome. The goal was to add $450,000 to the endowment fund. We stand in awe, gratitude, and joy to tell you that you beat that goal. As of Friday, the letters of intent came in for 27 households, beating the goal of 25, and $213,000 from 54 households exceeded our goal of $200,000. This generous congregation exceeded the goal. This successful campaign adds $463,000 to the endowment now, and that's not counting the future gifts. I just want to say thank you again to that generous donor that offered the match, and to the rest of the committee, and to all of you for making this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. What great news. Twice a month, the money we collect from our offering plates goes to the local nonprofit organizations. And the other Sundays, the money stays right here at church. The money given today will support the mission of this congregation to grow our souls and serve the world in love. There are a couple of ways you can give today. You can place cash or a check in the offertory basket. You can give on the website, or you can use the text to give feature. The number will appear on your screens momentarily at home. However you give, thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together. The offertory will now be gratefully collected.
Our first reading is from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of his freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Our second reading is from the poet Andrea Gibson. If you were to press your heart close up against somebody else's heart, eventually your hearts will start beating at the same time. And two little babies in an incubator, their hearts will beat at the same time. Love that. So if you have somebody in your life that is prone to anxiety, like myself, and if you happen to be a calm person, you could come up and hug me heart to heart, and my heart hopefully would slow to yours. And I just love that idea. Or maybe yours would speed up to mine, but either way, we'll be there together. Our third reading is from our hymnal, opening words, number 434. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other.
Wowee, Herbie Hancock. Thank you so much. I hope you could feel that music right into your bones. It just, the sound waves are right there. Whew. I'm so very glad to be here. Thank you for that warm welcome to Reverend Jack from Reverend Jill. I loved serving here all those years, and the energy of the young people and their families and all the volunteers who were around us, part of that. As Jack said, I am the sole chaplain at Lakeview Hospital in Stillwater, Minnesota. And for 5 years, working on my 6th, I've been spiritual counselor also in palliative care and hospice care, in homes and in facilities, wherever people are. But I'm speaking to you today as a minister, as a member of this congregation since 2001 with my spouse, Tiger Heiss, and as an individual. My views are not representative of Lakeview, and I want to speak with you personally by heart today, heart to heart, a little different than I might usually do. No human newborn can survive long without another person to care for them. They need help and protection and input. And we need more than milk and warmth. We need literally to learn how to be human. In babies who have sight, for instance, visual acuity improves over time. It shapes the brain, which influences the visual prioritizing of data that comes in based on past experience. Human faces come first. After that, baby learns to see objects. They learn to understand something is far away and not right here in their face. They learn distance. They learn that human beings do this. Those are my hands. Do you remember that? When they're recognizing and they still hit themselves in the head. And they learn that humans move and sound and feel and are like this. Baby learns that it's separate from the world. It learns to be its very self. It's a body thing, learning. So congratulate yourself for all you've learned since the moment you were born. It's extraordinary being human. It's extraordinary what we are. And we continue to shape and form each other always, today. By being here, we are influencing and shaping others, being shaped by them. A touch of curiosity, a whiff of hope, affinities they may arise from experiences long forgotten in our lives. But they're still there. Look around. Look around. What an amazing sight. What a miracle to come together, to have one another, to be here in peace today, and to shape one another and be shaped. I thank you for being here in person or online. Now, I'm a chaplain, so I have to start with a question. How are you doing today? How are you? If you're online, put a word in the chat, just a word. And if you're in person, please shout out, how are you doing? How are you doing, if you're willing to share? I heard a lot of tired. I heard some greats, happy, anxious, all of that. Anything online? No? They're probably typing paragraphs. As I move through my days, I'm aware that we are in odd time. These are the odd years. We have, BC, AD, and I would say OT, odd time. We're in the odd time. As I hear from patients and families, I ask them, how are you doing? And specifically, sometimes it comes up, how are you doing with the world as it is, with our nation, with the news? One person who's a partner of someone in hospice said, I'm just taking care of him. I can't even turn on the news. This is what I can do. This is it. Someone who's very ill, he broke my heart. He said, how can people be so mean? I watch the news and I think, how is it possible? How can we be so mean? A person who worries about ICE coming to their door said, I'm trying to stay home as much as I can. I can't work, I can't go out, I can't bring my kids to school, I can't sleep, I can't breathe. One person said, I don't want to die but because of what's happening, I just feel so sorry for the rest of you. Wow. In this time, many of us are not safe. Someone you love or you yourself may be cast as the enemy. You may be afraid, overwhelmed, threatened. As a chaplain, I try to meet all comers with equanimity. Sometimes I can hesitate when I see someone's political sign, and I knock on the door and I go in and there's a human. We relate human to human, interacting with that self. I work in many modes, often nonverbal, providing compassionate presence, just being there with someone through hard things, bringing water or a blanket or a Bible, listening, companioning. I give close attention. I hold silence. I breathe. I nod, perhaps a touch. Or it's verbal, prayer, blessing, chanting, song, meditation. I observe. I ask questions. You gave a big sigh when you mentioned your granddaughter. That's a real space of joy for you? I ask, what do you need? Not for all time and every day and as your grand philosophy. What do you need right now? What do you need right now? I do provide counsel, but overall my approach is to help the person tap into their inner resources, to name and claim their own strength and wisdom. Sometimes they'll ask certain questions. Is God punishing me? Would it be immoral of me to give up that treatment, which seems so useless? I pause, and often I'll say, what do you think? What do you believe? It's so interesting, you guys. People will go like this. I guess I think no, God is bigger than that. They'll tell me something from their beliefs. Now, if they have religious distress, we'll work with that. There's all forms of religious distress, as you know. But it's so neat to see the tension drain from their body and that big sigh of being liberated. My job as a chaplain is to carry the light. Most often, it means helping the person locate that in themselves, in their beliefs, in their faith, in their practices. Wherever their heart is, I try to help them feel the warmth of that light and scrape away anything that stands in the way of it with them. You likely recall a UU minister who lived in the 60s, Reverend James Reeb, R-E-E-B. He wrote about the light in his ministry. He said in 1961, "For as long as I can remember, what I've always thought of as the light within has been of more importance to me than anything else in life. To take that light within and consciously set it before others is keeping faith with what is the best in us." Now, Reeb followed that light. He left his post at All Souls Church in D.C., and he moved to Boston, where he lived in a very impoverished neighborhood. He worked for fair housing. In 1965, a young black man, 26 years old, Jimmy Lee Jackson, was killed down in Alabama during a voting rights march. He was unarmed. He was shot by a trooper. Reverend Reeb went down to Selma to be with Dr. King and the others and to stand on the side of love, to be on the side of the love, pardon me. He was murdered by white supremacists there. 4 days later, U.S. President Lyndon Johnson brought the Civil Rights Act before Congress, and he mentioned in a laudatory way Reverend Reeb. People don't remember that on that very same day, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was eulogizing Reverend Reeb. His heart was broken as he spoke. This was the second funeral of a violently murdered person within a week that he had done. He comforted his people. He did. And he laid responsibility broadly from the trooper who shot the gun to who else didn't pull the trigger but had a part by not acting, by not being vocal, by not being present. He was harsh with ministers, he said, who sometimes can hide behind stained glass windows. He was harsh about congregations that lead with their taillights instead of their headlights. They're not leading, they're following. I think about that Civil Rights Act. I think about Dr. King, who, despite that tragedy, was on the side of hope in that sermon, that painful sermon that took so much from him. I'm aware that this last month, the Civil Rights Act was all but gutted within our country. That Civil Rights Act that took so much sacrifice and struggle over so long, that was the culmination of dreams. This month, we're seeing so many other tragedies: violence against the rule of law, justice, civility, respect, the very lives of some people, our trans and LGBT plus folks, LGBTQ plus. I wonder, where are we headed? What is it for me, for you, for us to carry the light? How do we do that during this time? Now, in my work, I do more preparation to be grounded, to be well and clear. I try to have a handful of quiet as I see a patient or family. The book of Ecclesiastes says it's better to have one hand of quiet than two of toil and strife, vexation, something like that. Like many other people, though, I've been experiencing shock, fear, rage, overwhelming grief during what Senator from Illinois, Dave Durenberger, called a brazen assault on the rule of law, in what I understand to be a coup that threatens human rights of people, especially LGBTQ plus folks, immigrants, people of color, children, the poor, the ill here and abroad, and our democracy as a whole. It leaves me breathless. I'm sure many of us, and I hear from many of us, who are experiencing moments of dread or days of dread and panic. For me, it can sometimes feel like a fire that moves up my body when I hear certain things or think about certain things or perseverate on my country. Has this happened to you? Sometimes, despite that dread and panic or anxiety, you will clear yourself, you'll find a way, to move again purposefully, and you come across something and whoof, you're back on fire, right? In order to do this, in order to be who we have to be right now, we need to make sure our tinder is not dry, it's wet inside us, and it's not overstacked. It's clear, and there's plenty of space to put out fires. Like so many of us, I turn again and again to practices that ground me. I pray all day, every day. I meditate. I use many, many methods of relaxation. I extend kindness to myself. I I keep a discerning eye on what I have capacity to do and when I need to step away, which is my privilege to be able to do at times. Our hope, our health, our surviving, our peace is not just for ourselves, for each of us individually, and for the many ways we carry light for each other. Now, I've said I carry it as a chaplain, but in truth, each of us carries the light. You carry it for your partner, you carry it for any children, parents, aunts and uncles, for your neighbors, for your friends, for your coworkers. Whether it's spoken or not, you are shaping the people around you. The relationships that we have, and it's way more than we own up to and think that we have, are so formative. We can't control anything, but we can influence everything. We can influence. I think about the person who does your groceries in the store, the neighbor that the whole relationship is waving to them. All the people in our lives besides the main folks that you would name. We're social creatures. Just think for a moment about who you might be carrying the light for that you're not necessarily thinking of, right? Now, I know that we need to do this work in communities of care such as this congregation. I see Whiteberry UUC. For decades now, this congregation has held me, and I've tried to hold it. I'm so grateful for this place and its extraordinary ministers at a very difficult time, very difficult time. Over the past weeks, this image has gone through my head. It's kind of embarrassing to admit, but here it is. I imagine, or I feel more, imagine sometimes a huge cabinet, one of those like apothecary cabinets with the drawers. And this one is enormous, so tall I can't reach all the drawers. And it is very heavy, and it's sort of oppressing me. But I see the drawers, and I open them, and some of them have wonderful things in there, things I need. A favorite one says, pause, stop, right now. Get in your body. What do you see and feel and touch and smell? Where's your body? It's a body thing. Another one says, turn off that radio. Okay, I'll do that. Another says, you can do this. Call your senator right now, right now. The good and the bad are mixed, though. The goods might be go outside, go for a walk. It's no help to rave. Why? Time to talk. Some say, be like the sea. Come in, come out. Do what you can and retreat to recharge. Come in, come out. But some drawers are trauma. I open them, some deep despair, some pathological, but some offer care. I open them, I know sometimes they stick, and you'll have that one perseverating. Everything's, you imagine. I'm not going to say it all, but you imagine the worst. And then I get help closing them. Guess what? Getting help is the trick. That's the trick. Whew, that cabinet. The drawers move around too. So I can't depend on the fourth one over on the second row down is this, right? And I keep opening them in my head through this time, this weird time when I'm grasping for what to do. So I started labeling them so when they move, I can see them. This one says, this way to hope. And I open it, and there's the Dalai Lama's compassionate face, right? I open another one, it says, volatile, toxic, use proper safety equipment. And that's about the news, which I want to stay aware of, but I need to do so mindfully, right? And I only do it when I've donned my gloves. I work in the hospital. Gloves, eye protection, little hat, my gown, my booties. I only do it when I'm prepared with my PPE. Another says emotional first aid, open in emergency. I open that one, and our greyhound dog, Teddy Bear, jumps out, and he leans on me while I hug him, maybe crying. And Tiger pops out, making me wonderful food, nourishing food, and giving his love. it's awkward to talk about this image, and in some ways it's an image of chaos, it's an image of trauma, related to this time, because I'm grasping and there's such uncertainty and all of that. But I do know I can get help. I do know I am gaining control over how and when to open the drawers because I'm labeling them. And I know to open the hard ones when I'm ready. Now, this metaphor inadvertently has a comedic effect. And I don't mean to say that it's light. It's about a struggle with shock and feelings of helplessness and despair. And I want to say to you, if your drawers are stuck open, if there's a drawer that's stuck open, if your cabinet is just sitting on you instead of being useful, I hear you, I see you. You are not alone. There's a lifeline now. You dial 988. If you're having mental health struggles or emotional distress, alcohol or drug use concerns, or if you just need someone to talk to, you dial 988. It's a nationwide service, it's free, and it's confidential. And I say, don't suffer alone. Now, the cabinet is exhausting. It's too much, isn't it? There's some lovely things in there, but a lot of hard. It's important to name it as an image of chaos, as I've done, that arise from my witnessing daily threats to the safety of people, real people, and ideas that are important and foundational. Now, I'm relieved to say I have another tool, something I use daily, that does foster peace, something much sweeter than the cabinet, and that is being grounded in the present moment. That too is about the body. That's about the body. It's about quiet. There's no baffling drawers that keep moving or pressure or something I need to do. There's only one choice, where to place my attention. Now, you all, I know that this group is, probably many of you use mindfulness, progressive muscle relaxation, breathing techniques, music, some sort of body-based methods. Sometimes we use mindfulness and meditation and breathing meditation here in worship. I use several methods in my work as well as my personal life, but I want to say when I need quick response, help, I've seen people calm very quickly using one of the simplest forms, something called cyclic breathing. There's all kinds of methods for breathing. You just need to breathe. But this is one that the research is signaling to us, just 5 minutes a day increases overall mood and feelings of happiness and peace over time. And some of the results are long-lasting, not right at that moment. And I use it in a very abbreviated form, which also is found to bring down heart rate, respiration rate, feelings of overwhelm. I'd like to try it with you if you're willing. If not, you can sit peacefully. We're all free. But let's just try it. I'll lead you. And you can breathe in your own time. Breathe at your own pace. Do not judge yourself, okay? So, take in a deep breath. Feel your body. Feel it fill. And then take another sip. Try to feel more. And then we're going to let out with a sigh. Very slowly. Let's do 2 more. Oh, sigh. 1 more. Wow. Oh, it's a lovely sound. It's called a susurration. The sound of all of us sighing. It feels good, it's good for us, it brings us back in our body. It reminds us of the joy of just being here. No matter what, we are blessed by being here with this breath. This gives us a neurological break, a rest from hyperstimulation and reactiveness, reflexive, reactiveness. It moves us toward receptiveness, right? Reflection. I know for me it shrinks that cabinet of drawers and suddenly it's on my desk. There it is. Hey, I can reach all, and I know which ones to avoid. I can try this. Now it's a tool instead of a symbol of chaos. As Viktor Frankl reminds us, everything can be taken from us but one thing, to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose our way. Now, we have ways that we respond, and we need to respond in our roles, in our being a sister or brother or sibling, in our being a minister or a counselor or a neighbor. All those ways, we need to discern how to act well. And to do that, we need our prefrontal cortex to not be in panic mode, but to be activated and able to be used. We can think better when we breathe better. I have one other practice I want to share with you. There are so many, but this one really is helpful to me. I have a hard time getting up in the morning. I have a sleep disorder. Morning is hard. And so I start the day. I use a body practice which is about what do I want to name, can't read my own writing, to include my body and to put some words to it, very simple words that describe it. So I'll say, I rise my chest to meet the day. My chest rises to meet the day. Later, putting on my coat, which feels really good, I zip up my enormous Minnesota parka and I say, I am wrapped in love. I am held in love. I am wrapped in love. I am held in love. It's very simple, right? It's physical. When I'm on my way to someone's room, as I'm walking, I say, my feet carry me with confidence. I wash my hands. I let go. I stand before a door. I breathe in peace. I breathe in peace. Now, you may have different touch points for your life. You could make 100 of these a day. What's important to me is saying the same ones, linking them with the body, and they're almost a narration of my day and what I hope for. And you know what it does? It sanctifies. It blesses me in my moving about. Yes, Jill, I know it's hard for you to get out of bed. I lift my chest to meet the day. Yes, I know you're maybe nervous as you think about, wow, what this person's dealing with on the other side of the door. I fill my heart with compassion. So that's another possibility. There's a wonderful Presbyterian minister named Julie Naras who's written a book on hope. It's a handbook on hope, really good. And she said something that I know is true. Well, I can't find it. But she said, hope is not always bright and shiny and, the thing that's like, ha, I'm here, time for hope. She said sometimes hope just is a steady companion alongside us, quietly alongside us. I love that image. I'm so grateful that she gave me that message. And I think about my dog, Teddy Bear. Well, he's a bad dog. He would run away. But many of you have dogs that would, can be allowed to roam near you. And you know that when you're quiet again, they'll come and sit by you, right? There's your faithful dog. He's out there. Hope is out there. Now, being a chaplain, I have to close with the questions again, right? And this time, just think them to yourself. What is helping you? What makes you breathe in ease and breathe out in relief? What gives you that? Who's companioning you? Who are you companioning? For all of you, each of you, I take a breath. Join me. In this place, I am reminded to breathe deep and slow. In this place, I am at ease to breathe easy no matter what. Here among you, I have a glimpse of hope. I know it's right there alongside us. I may not see it right now, but it's off there running through alongside me. It's not leaving. I hope that you stay grounded in your bodies, grounded in the wisdom of your breath, grounded in one another, and can lend hope to one another if you're ever short on it. I hope that you stay aware of your metaphors. What is it that's happening in you? And try to simplify to something as basic as blessing yourself and your day, blessing your breath. May it be so. Would you rise in body or spirit to sing the closing hymn? It's the gray hymnal, number 131. Love will guide us. Love will guide us.
Please join me for the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
Please join us in the social hour for conversation circles.